Welcome to another weekly episode of Marked Out Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And I guess we'll start out talking about, we do have another event that's a casualty of the LA fires. And this was something that you were interested in going to. And to be honest, I'm not even really sure. I was just asking you. I'm not really sure who this is. So why don't you talk about it?
Okay, rapper Big Sean had, I think it was a book. Honestly, that shows how little I care about what I'm actually buying if the photo op is attached. But I believe he had a book coming out, and he was doing a photo op like session at Barnes & Noble on Fifth Avenue. I bought the ticket basically instantly, even though I hate going in after work to the city. It's a whole ordeal, especially since I work 30 minutes east of where I live, which is pretty east as it is. So it's really an effort to go. But I was going. I bought the ticket. You had no care.
Big Sean is big enough.
He's big enough. He was for a while. He was sort of in that whole like Cole, Kendrick, Drake category. Him and Meek Mill were kind of bringing up the rear, and now they've fallen off that mountain into another.
In the interest of fully exposing my embarrassment on this, I had just asked you while we were making the lineup for this show. I was like, "Oh, Big Sean, that's that big fat guy who died," and I obviously mixed up Big Sean and Big Pun. So there you go.
Well, listen, much like Big Pun, I don't think this Big Sean event is going to happen in the city at any point in time. These types of it will be rescheduled. If they were really going to reschedule it, they wouldn't have been so quick to refund me the money. We know how these things usually run. They'll hold that money as long as they can. So, I mean, Big Sean, B.I.G., Big Pun, all three, live or dead. They're not doing an event in the city, so he may as well be dead.
All right, so I guess you saved yourself a little money, which is always nice.
I'm still disappointed, but yes.
There you go. And so we tried out something a little bit new this week. We put out a call on Facebook because one of the things that's happening this time of year, January, February, there's just not a lot of events. It's too cold right now. I'm looking at it's like 18 degrees outside. So we put out a call for anyone around, who's following our Facebook page, whether they've done anything this week or, been to any shows or had any autographing experiences, because we haven't really had any. This is our definite slow season. I mean, by choice and yours not even by choice. There's nothing happening.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of responses. So people are doing stuff, just not us, I guess.
This brought back the old marked out days. It was like, we shot the marked out logo in the sky, like the bat signal. And listen, our people came through. We have some really cool stories here.
Yeah. So I'll start off. So our friend Martine, who has been always had some interesting comments about various topics on the show. He's down in Chile. And so obviously the weather is warmer there than it is here in New York. And so he got a bunch of stuff at the airport. He said he got photos with 18. Do you remember the 18s?
I don't.
So that was it. It was
I assume this isn't like a Mr. T led band from the 60s.
No, they're like a Europop thing.
Okay, no.
So Europop thing, I want to say, because I feel like I was working in the CD store when they broke. So probably 99-ish, 2000-ish, when they were kind of, breaking. And he also met another pop band, Two Unlimited. Not going to lie, I have no idea who that is. But he also, I'm looking at some of the names he has coming up that he's hitting at the airport. Patti Smith, Peter Buck of REM, Eric from Cypress Hill. These are real names. So
they are.
I guess that's honestly one of the benefits of living in a warmer climate is, that's where people are touring this time of year. People are not eager to come to the Northeast when it's single digits outside.
And he also has some Japanese wrestlers coming up. You should fly down and meet him. Look at that.
I got Aja Kong in Philly, and of course I already, I didn't. Whatever, I'm done with Aja Kong, but and Maki Ito, I don't know who that is. So I don't know everyone, if you could believe.
But yes, Martine, definitely update us as these happen. Let us know how they go on our weekly post.
I want to see what the 18s look like now, because I remember there was very much like a teen pop thing, and that was 25 years ago. So I'm curious what's going on there. And our good friend Burris from the Marked Out Days sent a report, and this is more up your alley.
Yeah, Burris hit the Hardy Boys, who honestly give like They'll give private signings in the middle of the airport. They are mostly Jeff, but I mean Matt as well. They're insanely nice, and he apparently had a whole horde of stuff done, and the coolest was his WrestleMania ticket stub. And like ticket stubs now are big business. That's a cool item.
Yeah, ticket stubs are super cool. You know, I never got into ticket stubs, and I remember like when I used to go to a bunch of shows, there was a moment in my life where I started to like think about saving some of them, and then I just ended up throwing them all away because I'm just not into it. There's not a visual appeal, but I do know that ticket stubs, especially unpunched, non-ripped ticket stubs, there's big money in there. So much so that a lot of the big talent reps don't let their talent sign ticket stubs for normal prices. So I know Fanatics is big on that. Most of Fanatics talent will not sign ticket stubs for normal prices. They have special pricing for that. So that's like a whole interesting side of this hobby that I really don't know much about. We also had user Vinny went to the White Plains Sports Show. Now, apparently it's under new ownership.
Yeah. Apparently, this was all news to me, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all. So now it's Lucky's is the brand. I think the only time I went up to the White Plains show was for to meet with an authenticator. I don't think I've ever actually been to that show for any legitimate reason.
I think I did once. I did once for a Mets show where I got Jose Reyes and Bartolo Colon.
So I mean, yeah, I guess is it their thing? I believe it's their MO. They book a lot of New York athletes up there, pretty much, right? So
yeah,
because I know in his report he met a bunch of Mets and Knicks. Keith Hernandez. I saw you really popped for the dual photo. Was it Johnson and Sprewell?
Yeah, that was an awesome shot.
It's pretty cool. It's interesting to see someone at a sports con getting mostly photo ops. And that's very interesting for me because historically sports cons weren't about photo ops at all. They were about sort of cattle call autograph sessions. And in fact, it was a thing. I remember you used to talk about this years ago where you used to really like going to the sports cards shows because you could pay for an autograph and pretty much guarantee yourself a free table op because no one was paying attention.
Although I would always get in my own head and I'd be like, oh, maybe I'll buy the autograph for nothing and they'll reject me. It was really Lanza and Mike Simon and Greg Izzy that used to really like just feast doing that because they always would just go and hope for the best. I did it a couple times, but I would always overthink it.
But they, were mostly successful back then.
They were. So, it made no sense to me to be like apprehensive, but.
Well, what's funny is now it seems like these sports shows have largely caught on and there were lots of, rules prohibiting table ops in the name of forcing everyone to buy pro photo ops, which is interesting how you went from something that was free or included with an autograph purchase to now actually costing more than the autograph itself.
Just like the Monster Mania shows of the world where, once upon a time, the photos were just a thing you could get. And now it's something you could pay, that you can pay for. The good of that is you lose out on my level of overthinking and paranoia that you're not going to get what you perhaps want most. The negative is gone are the days of paying an autograph price and getting a combo. Yeah,
and that's something that we're going to actually talk about in a minute after the break. And a bunch of people, a lot of people. I saw at least 3 people or more were posting about this MegaCon for Orlando. I'm not going to lie, especially this time of year, the out-of-state cons totally off my radar. I am really not paying attention to what's going on around the country because I know there's a 0% chance of my being able to go or having any willingness to go. But I'm looking at, and we were talking about it yesterday, that MegaCon in Orlando has kind of a ridiculous lineup.
I'm on it right now. Let me just run through a couple names. You have Jude Law, Millie Bobby Brown, Matt Smith, Mel Gibson, Ron Howard, Jared Padalecki, Bryce Dallas Howard, Nicholas Holt, Lillard, and Ulrich from Scream, Grant Gustin, and a ton of the CW people. Just Dolph Lundgren. Crazy lineup, stacked.
Yeah, there's some pretty. Mel Gibson has done what, 1 or 2 cons total.
I think one, unless we count those experience with.
Yeah, Jude Law has done 2 cons, both of which were not on U.S. soil. These are not common names, and they're all at one show. I think you know what it is. The number of shows being run this time of year is low enough that MegaCon / Fan Expo is willing to throw a little bit of more money at something like this because they know Orlando is a draw this time of year for tourists.
I mean, if financially and just work schedule wise, I could swing this. Like, you would not have to twist my arm too hard to get me to go to Orlando in February. Like, I would love to go, but it's just not feasible. Not at all feasible.
What's so interesting is, I mean, this company Fan Expo, we haven't really talked a lot about them, mainly because we just haven't been to any of their shows in a minute. Last Fan Expo show, you never go to Fan Expo shows.
No, never have.
I was at Fan Expo Boston in 2021, where half the roster canceled for COVID. But I still that was where I got Robert Patrick, because I was just not going to miss Robert Patrick again during an East Coast swing. Yeah, like you, yeah. and I was like, honestly, he was my reason for going, and everyone else was just gravy. That was actually one of the last cons that what's his name from the Brendan Fraser. That was one of the last cons that he ended up doing, because that was in the Oscar run up to the Whale, and then once he won the Oscar, he stopped doing cons. So, and I didn't get him because I didn't prepay, and then the line got cut off, and it honestly is a pretty staggering regret. But in any case, this Fan Expo company, they started building up a presence a couple of years ago. They came into the scene with a lot of money, and one of the first things they did when Wizard World was floundering, they bought the Wizard World cons, and then so a lot of the Fan Expo cons, Salt Lake City, Philadelphia, Boston, those were Wizard cons that Fan Expo took over. And so what's interesting, because you had asked me, why doesn't Fan Expo run New York? And I believe the answer is largely that Wizard didn't run New York. Wizard ran one con in New York years ago and took a savage beating. That place was half empty. They were I believe they were competing with New York Comic Con and all these other shows that and New York, running cons in New York is really expensive. And so Wizard stopped running in New York, and they ran in Philly instead. And what's interesting is, if you look at the Fan Expo Philly lineup, to us, shows that run in Philly are typically big. That's for a lot of the cons, the shows they run in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania are big shows. Fan Expo, the Philly show's small. The Philly show's small. The Boston show's small. Meanwhile, their shows in Florida, in Texas, in Utah are huge. I guess they're catering. Yeah, go ahead.
You can't even compare. Like, you look at this lineup and look at what the Fan Expo usually gives, especially Philly. Boston's at least had some names. They are the ones that I believe had Travolta. They've had some cool names. I guess Philly has too. They've had like a couple, but I mean, nothing like this. Nothing like Mel Gibson. I
think what they're doing is kind of following the model that they're going to pump their resources into markets that are underserved. And, Philly, the Northeast, and, whether it's Philly or Boston, the Northeast has a lot of cons. A lot.
I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, I feel like if I took over Wizard World the way Wizard World crashed and burned, I would try not to, really follow anything they did, because it didn't work too well for them. But I mean, I guess there's certain things that are just it's like gravity. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's obvious.
I gotta say though, I would, and this is something that we've joked about often, I would love to see the books for some of these cons. For many of these cons, I would love to see the books for them, because knowing how what things cost and stuff, it's very hard to imagine where the money is going and how much money is being brought in for these things. It's definitely a curiosity of mine, one of my goals is to get one of the larger con. Legends of the Ring, their budget was in the low 5 digits. You get someone like some of these shows now, their budgets are in the mid 6 figures. So some of them even go into 7 figures. Those are interesting people to talk to see what what the numbers really are for shows like that, because I would love to know. I would love to know what the what the margins are for stuff like that. It's interesting to me.
Yeah, and I have one question. I can't remember for my bold prediction. I had one bold prediction about Mel Gibson making his way east. Did I say the Northeast? Did I say the Eastern, like East Coast, Eastern Seaboard? I can't remember what I said.
I don't remember, and I believe my comment was that prediction. I don't think it's that bold. I think it's going to happen. Yeah.
In any case, he's moving east, so I guess
He is.
My not so bold prediction is if not correct completely, it's moving in that direction.
Oh, I mean, I like I said to you, I fully expect him to see him at New York Comic Con or either Rhode Island or Steel City or maybe both.
Yeah, I think he's going to do.
This is the trajectory.
Then I got to decide if I spring for an autograph. Already having the photo op. I don't know.
I think we both know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's fair.
Oh, if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. That's where all the posts were we read before. All links are in the show notes on Facebook and Substack. So why don't you go ahead and talk about, this is our last show that we get to talk about PWJ Damaged Goods next weekend.
Yes, it is coming down the pike right now. On Sunday, January 26th, we will be at the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey for the Pro Wrestling Junkies Damaged Goods show. Doors open at 4 p.m. The card starts at 5 p.m. You have Charles Mason and Steve Macklin. You have Marcus Mathers against Trevor Lee. You have a women's triple threat match with Deonna Purrazzo and WWE ID's Zeta Steele involved. The lineup is absolutely off the chain, and we will be there bright and early getting all of the signings done so we can actually watch the show and enjoy the show ourselves, because this is a stacked lineup. If you are in New Jersey, New York, or anywhere around here, get a ticket. First row, second row are both sold out. There are limited general admission seats left, and you missed out on getting a front row seat as we gave one away on here a couple weeks ago. But I'm sure there's not a bad seat in the house, so buy tickets now.
So if you like what you hear and you want to support us, if you want your event, product or brand advertised on episodes of Marked Out Radio, please reach out to us at markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. Also, we do really thrive on user engagement. That's what keeps us going. So please subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or all three. And please leave us a rating and or a review on Apple Podcast. You can leave a rating on Spotify, and you can leave comments and thumbs up and thumbs down on YouTube. And we do listen to and comment on all engagement and read some of it on the air. So I've been continuing to sell off my collection. We discussed it. Everything that I'm selling off is through my eBay account, NY collectibles, and I actually sold you popped for it when I sold this, so I sold a pretty cool piece of my collection. So that was it. It was last week on Monday Night Raw, a week ago. Penta from Lucha Underground, who then became a big star in AEW, who was formerly Pentagon Jr. He made his WWE debut. I don't want to go too into the weeds on that. Did you watch that segment?
I did. He really came across like a huge deal. I really didn't expect that when they were first rumbling about him going over. I still viewed it like the old WWE way, where the luchador would come in and kind of look like a jabroni through no fault of their own, and it would just sink like a lead balloon. But he was a big deal. They made him and treated him as a big deal.
Yeah, and so I capitalized. We've discussed this before, but anytime we're holding inventory on someone who does something in this world, whether it's Olivia Hussey dying or Penta making an appearance on Raw, or like you're holding a bunch of Joe Hendry stuff. Now he just won the TNA title, and you're gonna try and sell it, and that's how it goes. That's the business that we're in. So I had acquired a ring-worn mask from Penta directly a few years ago. And I know that anytime someone's name is in the news, there's some extra demand. And so I did sell. I listed it and sold it within like 12 hours, which suggests that the price was a little low. But I actually think the price was really good.
No,
It
I
was
think you
great for
did well on it. And it's one of those things that like I had a whole like roller coaster of emotions when you told me what happened. My first thought was, damn it, I should have bought one. It was something I thought about buying at the time. Then I realized if I did buy one, I wouldn't have sold it because I'm a lunatic. So that would mean I should have bought two. I would have had to have bought two to be able to sell one, which I'd still be in the profit if I done that and had the similar luck that you had. But still, I mean, that's just insane. I have to buy multiple masks of it. I can't. But I wished I did now, in hindsight.
I do have kind of a cool. I don't even know if you know about all of it because like some of it I got really a lot of years ago, and I just vacuum sealed them in a bag under my bed. But I do have a pretty decent lucha mask collection, signed lucha mask. I mean, I have not them all. Not all of them are ring worn. Most of them are not ring worn because But I have a Curryman, Christopher Daniels. Remember from
God,
many years ago.
The Curry Man, no, the fake Curry Man's that the face classes program. He class 316 kept going up to I forget exactly how it went, but he kept getting something signed, thinking it was a different man under the Curry Man mask. I think it was actually Kazarian who would tell him he was Christopher Daniels, and class got like several things ruined because he thought it was Christopher Daniels under there. And yeah, at some point, I think we got to bring it up to when we have him on the show. That's the only. But we got to make him cry. Anyway,
but I have a Curryman mask signed. I have a Dos Caras signed, Alberto Del Rio's father. I have a bunch of Ligers, obviously. I have an Ultimo Dragon ring worn. I have a great Sasuke, not ring worn, but I have a great Sasuke signed. I have a who else? Juventud Guerrera. I have a Psychosis. I have a bunch of really cool signed lucha masks that are just sitting in a vacuum sealed bag where they belong, I guess. But
I'm not gonna lie though, the entire like ring worn thing, and I don't want to go down a complete rabbit hole here, but that the ring worn like game, it always like entices me. I like the idea of it. I mean, as much as you could like the idea of spending hundreds of dollars on essentially like men's worn underwear, which is
that's ultimately what it is.
Yeah, so I have like a Matt Cardona knee pad somewhere in a bin, which I really don't know why. I have a PCO glove that he wore in ROH and I think TNA that I bought from him directly at a private signing. Again, why did I do this? I don't know. I really don't, but I still like it. Maybe one day I will burn some money and start buying more of that crap.
It's funny because this is something that we talked about ages ago, but on eBay, Jimmy Hart's son was moving, and he had sold a bunch of crap that belonged to his father, and one of them was a ring-worn Hulk Hogan wristband from WCW. And what's so cool about it is, I showed you this, right? Hulk on his website, on the Beach Shop website, is selling the exact same wristband that I have, and he was selling it as a one of one, like he only had the one left. And that's amazing because the other one I have sitting here in my house. So I don't even know how to price something like that. Hulk was pricing it like $4,000 or something stupid like that. Maybe even $2,000 or $4,000. I forget. But he was pricing it really high. I don't know because like it's so clearly real because they didn't market this for the public. This WCW one was not marketed for the public.
Yeah.
It was not for sale anywhere. And you look at it and you touch it for 2 seconds and you realize it's ring worn. Yeah. So it's cool like that, but at the same time, like it's a wristband. And what am I going to do with a wristband? You know? It's a Hulk wristband, so I think I can certainly get over $1,000 for it, but I'm not sure exactly what to do with it. Would you sell it? You would keep it. You would put it under your pillow.
I would definitely keep it. Say my prayers, take my vitamins while looking at it. Yeah, I would not sell it. But I'm not surprised how you came to acquire, because I think Jimmy talked about it on that whatever the hell that Hidden Treasures show, and then I think I talked to him about it in person. He is notorious. He stores his crap like he doesn't pay for like a storage unit. he stores his stuff in like 13 different locations. Like he had some stuff in Hogan's Beach Shop, like in the back room, just stored away that probably got destroyed in the flood. But that's what he does. He stores his stuff all over the state of Florida and the country. So I guess the son was sick of holding his crap and sold it, and then that's where you came in.
Yeah, I got a couple cool things from that auction. It was one of them was like a gym membership that Hulk Hogan had with his ID card to get into a certain gym when he was in town. I had a copy of his original wrestling license for the state of Florida, I believe it was, but I don't remember. I have a few. These things are stored away, but it was a pretty cool thing. And like, you know, when I'm selling off that's the problem when I'm selling off my collection. It's like, obviously I jumped on the Penta thing because Penta's hot right now, and I guess I didn't list Phoenix. I bought one from Phoenix too. I didn't list that because I'm gonna wait until Phoenix jumps. Right now, Phoenix is in a lull. He's being kept home, so I'll wait. But when you're selling stuff, there's always like a timing aspect to it. You know, do I sell now? Do I hold it? Do I try and time it? Or do I want to get rid of the stuff? So do I just say the hell with the timing of it and get rid of it?
I think it's very wrong of you to capitalize on their success. You didn't share in their success. You didn't build them and help them get to this point. So why are you profiting off of their hard work? Not cool, Sean.
Listen, I'll say the rosary, I guess, in penance. But no, I was very excited about selling the Penta mask because it was cool, but it was also just sitting there in a vacuum bag under the bed.
Yeah, I would not have been able to sell that. I would have, even if I had two, I don't know. I may have been like, oh, they're both cool for their own uniqueness. I may have needed three, and I don't know. It's bad.
Yeah, I have. Look, I'm not gonna lie. As you know, I have a bunch of Ligers. I have one ring worn Liger, and I have a bunch of just whatever, and I have a bunch of Ultimo Dragons and stuff. And those guys, I haven't sold any yet. But with those guys, it's a weird thing because it's like, would I ever really get the money that I believe I deserve for Penta? At the end of the day, I like Penta, but you know, Penta was not a formative character from my childhood.
Honestly, he's probably never going to be hotter than he was 4 days ago when you sold it.
Right, that was my logic. And again, with guys like Liger and Ultimo and Sasuke, I was buying tapes of those guys when I was a teenager, like a lunatic, in 97, 96. And, I was very much a teen fan of those guys. And so, having stuff of theirs has that meaning for me. It's different. When you get older, it's a little bit different. And I think it's generally true that the people we like when we're younger, we have a little bit more affinity for them and we want to hold on to them in a different, more sentimentality, I guess. I care about that, holding it more. And there's no real logic to it beyond that. I mean, you don't really share that. You keep everything.
I keep everything, but there's certain people that it just matters more. Like since you just talked about selling your collection, I'll just throw a quick little tidbit about expanding mine. I bought a Heenan family Mattel 4-pack that was signed by Bobby Heenan, obviously, since the other ones in the set were Andre, Big John Studd, and Kurt Hennig. If it was signed by those guys, there'd be some definite red flags. But it was signed in red paint. It was signed with an inscription, which, I mean, besides you, there weren't a ton of people using paint back then when Heenan was still active and alive. And there were even less people doing inscriptions. So when I saw that, I'm like, sold. It was like I faked the debate for like 10 minutes. I messaged it to you, and then
I was like, don't buy it.
Yeah, you said don't buy it. I of course bought it, and I'm glad I did. I absolutely needed it, and by needed I mean I really didn't need it at all because it's sitting on a shelf now behind me. But it's nice, and I'm happy to have it.
Do you periodically just turn around and gaze at it longingly for a few minutes, or?
I'm looking at it right now. Granted, you just made me do it, but yes, I just looked at it. It looks good.
Yeah. I'm poking fun, but it is a sick piece. Honestly, it was very cool. I'm just in a weird spot right now, headspace wise, with that kind of stuff. But yeah, and speaking of our collections, one of the things that was interesting that was in the news that you brought up, and it actually directly relates to Vinny's his White Plains report from before. It's funny, isn't it funny? Before we get into it, isn't it funny how it happens that we think about what we want to talk about, and we have like this topic, and then once we have the topic, we realize there are just a couple other things that happen in the news in the hobby that just happen to be related to the topic anyway.
It's kismet.
It really is in some ways, though. We had this topic, and then we're going through Vinny's post. We're like, shoot, this is kind of about the same thing. And so one of the things that we sort of I guess it's a perennial debate or discussion in this hobby is the question of photo ops. What is the ideal photo op situation? We talked a little bit about table ops versus pro photo ops. This is going to be a little bit more of a meta conversation, a little bit more of a philosophical conversation. Because at WWE's, I guess it's for their Royal Rumble event, they announced that by default, photo ops would be sent digitally and would not be printed, which is a pretty significant departure from how pro photo ops have been handled pretty much anywhere. And that's a pretty radical change. And I think we both came to the agreement pretty quickly that very few people would actually care about this.
No, I mean, it's one of those things. If you think back to every, like, which, to be fair, since the last couple of years, I have not really been around any of like the complete collapses. But like the NYCC, the year of Stallone and Weaver, people were delayed hours and hours getting their photo ops because the printers went down. It was a whole thing with the printers. And that happened around that time period a couple of times where you would have just complete log jams on the printing that would slow everything down hours.
Well, that was the thing with creation, right? You go to one of the creation shows, you do the photo op 5 minutes in, and the print will be ready in 4 hours or something like that.
Yeah. And honestly, creation will be printing these prints as long as printers exist, because their fan base are the types of people that want those prints in real time, so they could expel like bodily fluids onto them and then bring it up to the table and get it signed. Like they will never not. You
think that's the sequence of events? Is it printed? It's printed photo, expulsion of bodily fluids, then getting it signed, or you think they get it signed and then? I
think it's sort of like the sandwich of bodily fluids.
So it's sort of a continuous stream, a flood, if you will.
Yes, you prime the photo with the fluids, and then you sort of seal the autograph over with a layer of secretion.
Does this have to get beeped?
No, it's scientific. If anything, we're crossing over.
Oh my God. You guys, because we mentioned a few times about creation shows. If you've never been to a creation show and observed the segment of humanity that attends these things, just do it just once. If you can swing the money, and just as an observer, just pay attention to the crowd and how they behave. It is the most fascinating bit of one of these days. Well, we've talked about it for years, and actually we should do a show about this. How we could produce like a television show or a movie about a segment of this hobby. I think there's so many angles to go from the super fans or the women who were preyed upon at these creation events. There's so many different ways to do this. I really want to do it. It's just, if anyone has like $1 million that they're willing to invest in some kind of documentary or docuseries, I would love to put together and produce something. So if anyone has a spare mill that they're looking to invest, I think there's really an entertainment product to be made here. Really an interesting thing. And I'm shocked that no one's done it yet.
My 600-pound con life.
What about my 600-pound con? Or there's so many, or hoarding autographs. There's so many like aspects of these kind of sick, National Geographic or Discovery Channel type shows that are. So
we gotta pitch this to Max, which has all the Discovery ID shows, or like A&E. One of those two networks.
I'm just afraid. I'm afraid someone with resources would just steal this idea and do it. Because it's so good, and the characters that we've met are so perfect. You could see like in real time when there have been shows. I think when I was complaining about Rhode Island, I was looking around in Rhode Island, looking at the floor, and I started having like just seeing what it would look like in real time if we were documenting how insane the whole affair was. And as much as I complain about Rhode Island or about NYCC, creation cons are they're on a next level that's hard to even articulate how bad they are if you've never been to one. They're a freak show beyond belief. And that's just that. In any case, we're trying to talk about photo ops. And, one of the interesting things is I remember when I first started, towards the tail end of when I first started going to wrestling cons, because it really wasn't this way in the celebrity cons, but towards so when I started wrestling cons in the 07-ish, they were still doing Polaroids for photo ops. And so, and historically, I remember years ago, getting a signed Polaroid was a thing. I remember I have a signed Polaroid of me and Jeff Hardy from the early 2000s. I have a signed Polaroid. I feel like I have with some football players from back in the day. It was a Polaroid thing.
Oh yeah, they were big. I have a signed Polaroid from like 1993, I think, with Jim the Anvil Neidhart in full regalia. He's in the Hart suit, the Hart Foundation suit, like his tights and everything. That's actually pretty sick. But yeah, I mean, they used to be like the only thing. Then they became sort of a niche kind of thing that like just hadn't been phased out, even though most people had cameras. But
yeah, because I think because the whole point was you get the Polaroid and they'd sign it. Or then it was the prints, and it was the same principle. You would get the pro photo and you would get it signed. And the talent liked it because it was a way to drive revenue to their table for autographs. After you get the pro photo up, you then pay extra to get it signed. The customers liked it because it provided some kind of tangible result of your meeting someone, some just thing. I never knew like what those printouts, what people were doing with them, because what I did with mine was like most of them I threw out or I lost them after I scanned them into the computer, to be totally candid, or some of them I would keep like in a binder somewhere that's lost to God knows what. But and the people who are getting them signed, do you like take a signed photo op with whoever and then put it in a frame and put it on your wall? It just seems strange to me. But I believe there was some of that going on. But then I would say somewhere around 2015, 2016 is when photo ops really blew up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because you were pretty much a photo op only collector for a very, very long stretch of time.
It was a good era. I mean, my hands were clear. My bank account wasn't clear. It was actually nice all around. And somehow it was during COVID when I started selling stuff and saying, oh man, I wish I had gotten this type of thing signed instead of this. And then I started saying, well, life is short. Let's just spend, for a small fortune every year getting more.
But I think the point is, like, when photo ops shifted away from Polaroids and prints to get signed, there became kind of a fundamental shift in what the purpose of the photo op was for. Like, there was a time period when the photo op was simply a vehicle to get signed. It was a thing that you had that you would get signed. But the photo op has changed. If WWE is not offering prints by default, and you and I have talked about this, that we suspect that some of these cons, probably like the New York Comic Cons, are going to move in that direction, just because if they don't have to have those printers there, they're saving thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in materials costs, in labor. I mean, they just don't have to deal with any of that anymore. If the printed photo goes the way of the dodo, then we can really, really think about how the purpose, the fundamental reason that one gets a photo op has changed. And I've had this conversation with normies, with people who are outside of this hobby. And it's really interesting that years ago, in 06, 07, 08, 09, when I was first doing this hobby, I used to post my photo ops on Facebook, and people would like them, and they would go, oh my God, that's so cool. But they really couldn't understand why I was doing it. And they would ask, why do you want that? And especially when you have to pay a lot. I
don't think I ever got those questions.
Well, especially when you have to pay a lot of money for it. And so, and then now it's such a second nature thing that no one blinks an eye, no one bats an eye, because the end goal is the social media post as opposed to the having of the thing for your own possession.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it was common years ago for people to get photo ops and then never post them to social media because they didn't want to like share them or blow them up. Or I mean, look, famously, again, going back to the marked out days, but when the Brits got Randy Savage, they didn't post that photo op.
No, I think finally once he kicked the bucket, they actually did post it on their pages. But yeah,
think about that. That's a fundamental difference in understanding on why photo ops occur. So I guess let's go, because you are much more of a photo op person than me, although I was in the beginning anyway, but I have also gotten, believe me, more than my fair share. I guess my question is, what is the appeal of a totally intangible thing like a digital photo op?
For me, I think it's a little multifaceted. For one, I think it kind of scratches that like itch of collecting. Like to me, every time, and I don't know if I've ever actually articulated this on this podcast, but I mean, I think after 28 episodes now, on the 29th, you know how crazy I am, so I could just pull the curtain all the way back. I kind of see it like when I meet, like, let's say I get so-and-so, like when I met Mel Gibson. To me, I sort of see like all the movies and all the projects in the world as like think of it as like an unlit Christmas tree, like strand. When you meet this person, all those lights turn on. You have this person in your collection, like a serial killer, but not, hopefully. and then it's like every like project when you've met this person, have that intangible but very important photo op. It just feels different. You feel like you sort of have a moment. I don't even know. I don't know how to really describe it more than what I'm saying, but it feels like lights go on and like everything connects and it's very cool. On the other hand, I'd be lying. Anyone that says that it's not about bragging rights to some degree are insane and full of it, because I mean, you post it on Facebook and Instagram to some degree of public screening. Like, people that are really private and don't want to show off at all just wouldn't post it. So if you're posting it, to me, there's some level, everyone that posts something is showing off on some level. So I think that's also part of it. How about you?
But I guess my question, though, is before I talk about myself, I still, like, getting an autograph is a tangible proof. It's a tangible representation that you met that person. But the digital photo op is not. Like, in theory, you can have an autograph collection that if you die or you can leave it to someone in a will, they can sell it. It has value. The photo op by definition has no value. No one wants that except you, right? So
you don't think my great-grandchildren are going to want pictures of me with Drew Barrymore?
But even if you give it to them, it's a digital version. It by definition has no value. You can reproduce it infinitely. That's the point. That's the difference between, say, like a Polaroid that's signed, or even a signed print. Hey, my great-grandfather met Drew Barrymore. At least it's a signed print. There's something tangible. But there's something odd, I think, if you really think about it, about paying a lot of money for something that is purely intangible. Now, on the celebrity side, they're charging money because you're paying for time. That's what you're really paying for.
Yeah.
Or clout. Time plus clout. There's like a weird hybrid there. But I guess as a consumer and a collector, what is the appeal of something that is so ephemeral, like a digital photo op? It lasts for that second, and then it's
I think
more or less gone.
You're talking about intangible in a sort of an archaic use of the word, because in this day and age with NFTs and cryptocurrency and all this other stuff, the digital existence is the tangible actual item. Like, that's it. Like the Instagram photo, that's it. It's tangible. You're getting clout and likes and all this stuff. That is that. I think most things nowadays aren't physical.
No, so what I'm suggesting, though, is that, and yes, I mean, I expected that answer, because what my thesis of sorts here is that the purpose of the photo op has changed, right? Like years ago, when you got a Polaroid that was signed, or you got a print that you got signed, the purpose was to create some kind of personal artifact, which is getting your Polaroid signed or getting your print signed was. That's fine, or that's a personal version of getting like a generic movie poster signed. Getting a generic movie poster or getting a generic headshot or whatever is fine, but getting your Polaroid or your print sign is this tangible artifact that is like a cherished memory of sorts, and really it can be shared in your home. You put it in a frame, put it on the wall or on the coffee table, whatever. It can be shared in your home as a conversation piece, but that's pretty much the extent of where it goes. But now that the whole shebang is digital, there's not even a pretense of having a personal artifact. There's no print. There's no print at all. Now it kind of impersonalizes the whole thing, or depersonalizes, I guess you would say, and it makes it into sort of, for lack of a better exact precise term, sort of a clout chasing exercise.
Yeah,
it's sort of a fundamentally different thing. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it's definitely changed. I know what you're saying. It also kind of makes me wonder, comically, how many people have those Tammy Sitch bed photos, like the prints framed and hanging up on their walls, a conversation starter. Over under on 20 of those suckers being on a wall right now as we speak. What do you think?
I think there might be one in Todd's coffin.
Oh, too soon, man. Come on. R.I.P. Todd the Bud.
Oh my God. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I haven't fully formed all my thoughts on this, because there have been times where I spent a lot of money on a photo op, and then afterwards I sort of felt a weird feeling. Well, why did I do that?
See, I never really felt that, and like what you're saying, like all the tangible, physical artifact qualities of the old photo op method. Honestly, I never liked it. Like when I would get the print, I would come home and scan it, because I was an idiot and I was cheap, and I thought it was just as good as the JPEG. It really isn't, and I regret a lot of those that I scanned. But I never said, "Ooh, I have this artifact." Like I just would always say, "How the hell do I get this digital so I can share it?" I guess for clout and for props and for likes and for posterity of knowing that it's archived in one place. I never liked or valued any of that of which you're describing. But there are a lot of people that did, and a lot of people that still do. Think about Monster Mania when we all failed on Art the Clown, when he never came back down. You saw a lot of people coming with their pro op. When they had the print, they came print in hand. They were going to get that signed. So, like, when prints are offered as a secondary thing, there are still going to be people that want it. But I've been calling for this for years. Like, make the print the add-on, not the digital. It's 2020, whatever, at that point. Why are we still making the JPEG the extra? And I'm liking now that we're starting to see epic photos going in that direction.
The philosophy and the psychology of the photo op are strange to me. And I engage in this behavior. I can't articulate why I'm feeling this way, or even why I do it, because there have been times when you get the autograph and it's extremely satisfying, but I feel like, and it's probably because also anytime I get an autograph, I am fully expecting to one day sell it.
Yeah, you can't ever sell this.
But that's not always true. Like at that time when I went to that Jushin Liger signing at Wrestling University, this was years ago, and I was wearing my my Liger t-shirt that I had bought. It was a bootleg shirt off High Spots, like when I was a teenager. I still had it, and I still fit into it. And like Liger popped for the t-shirt, and I forget what I paid for, some stupid thing from the sign. And he popped for the t-shirt, turned around, drew this whole large cartoon version of himself and signed my t-shirt, didn't pay for it. And like, I would never sell that, that's just ridiculously cool,
Yeah.
So there are certain things that I have, that I recognize are evidence of experiences as opposed to, things that can be sold. So I'm really kind of critiquing myself here. I don't really have a good explanation for why we do photos. I'm very curious. I'm very, very curious because the reason why it kind of goes back to what Vinny was saying in his report. One of the things he wrote in his report was that he got a bunch of photo ops with all these baseball and basketball players, which to me is funny because again, in the sports world, that just wasn't a thing until pretty recently. And he made a comment that he went to buy their autographs not at the table, but from vendors at the show, because he wound up finding the autographs for like at the vendors for like half the cost of what they were at the table. And of course that makes sense because of, we've discussed it many times on this show, why you'll buy autographs in bulk from vendors that are cheaper than you will buy, that you'll spend at the table. But it's fascinating that someone who, on a psychological level, someone who wants to meet this star for some reason will go pay for the professional photo op and then buy their autographs at a vendor. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I've done that. I've bought autographs on the secondary market. I've done it when the table prices are too high. But that really speaks to an interesting kind of vision of what the collecting aspect of the hobby is, because for me, collecting it to some degree is about stuff. And if you have digital photo ops, there's no stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not stuff you can ever sort of part ways with in a monetary way. But like, to me, I still see it as stuff. I open up my Google photo albums and I see I have 800 photos in one album and 700 in the other album. To me, that stuff, I see it and feel the same way I would with 25 things on a shelf. I just see it in like a digital space. But I know what you're saying. It's not actual stuff. It can be reproduced. I can print 1 million of them. It's not like stuff, but I mean, I kind of, as a collector of things I wouldn't sell anyway, I kind of see it the same way.
Yeah, I don't know. So a lot of times I will hesitate. Like, and New York Comic Con is a good example of this. Like this year, they had the dual photo op with Mickey and Ian. I had to get it. They had the group photo op with House of the Dragon. I had to get it. They had Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes together. Had to get it. They had Starship Troopers as the group. Had to get it. And then I have all these photo ops that just kind of just exist in a digital space, and I don't know what to do with that in my head. And clearly, you have a different view of it than I do. I don't know. So I guess I ask people out there, what are your thoughts on this? What do you, because I mean, I read Martine's report, how he was getting photo ops at the airport. How do you view photo ops in terms of your collection? Are they things in the same way that Dana is talking about them, or do you take them less seriously because they're this ephemeral abstraction? Like, what do you think about the photo op versus the autograph? I guess the question is, what makes them go hand in hand in this hobby?
I would argue, honestly, that it's more, it's actually more tangible in a lot of ways, despite being less physical. I could buy an Al Pacino autograph right now, but I can't. I mean, some people out there will make fake photo ops. There was one. I remember that. I'm not going to say names, but there was one vendor out there that was like posting like these photos of him with like Robert De Niro and Justin Bieber and stuff, and a quick Google search proved that they were like other people's photos that he just like had himself photoshopped into. And I called them out because that's sort of what I did back in the day. I was just like an ass for the sake. I honestly wasn't hurting anyone. I could have just shut my mouth, but I didn't. And
that was funny though.
Yeah. But anyway, like, I can't go on eBay right now and buy a photo of me and Al Pacino in Central Park at 12:30 at night with rats running around our feet. Like, that is a moment in time that photo, whether JPEG or printed or carved on a stone tablet, it is what it is. It can't be reproduced. An autograph is, even my most treasured autograph, I could take my double-signed Papa Shango Hasbro and throw it into a wood chipper, and I could buy another one. If I go delete my Bastion Booger photo where my arm is sort of sunken in his fold of furry, sweaty flesh, I can't buy another one of those, even though it doesn't exist in the actual like physical realm right now.
All right, so I want to hear people's thoughts on this, because I don't know how I feel about it. I go through like phases, So, anything else on photo ops?
No, but it makes me wonder, just on a nuts and bolts level. We know what the photo op companies charge, what they get on top of the photo op fee. And part of why they get what they get is because of the cost of printing and paper and ink and all that crap. Well, the workers manning the printers. If you take, let's say they have 12 printers now. If you go to 2 printers, when you only have certain people printing these as a novelty, the cost of a company producing these photo ops drastically reduces. So it makes me wonder, does the math on a deal of what the company gets change?
I think what you're saying here is a good reason why these companies are hesitant to make that change.
I'm saying,
because why would WWE need to hire Epic when they could certainly just hire in-house at a fraction of the cost, or a contractor for a session to do, it makes, I agree with you 100%.
These companies, it's all about the infrastructure. When you remove the need for an infrastructure like this, you sort of remove the need for these companies. It's an interesting thought.
So what's coming up for us? And we talked about PWJ next weekend. There's not really much to say. If you want to hang out, if you want to come say hello, you want to come buy something, we're going to have some cool stuff at the table. We're blowing out some stuff at a steep discount, things that we have sitting around for too long. So please check it out. We're also going to be, we're going to be doing our signings before the public's in the building. So you're not going to come see that. But absolutely come and hang out for the show. It's going to be great. You added an event for yourself.
I did.
February 1st, which is actually the day of the Royal Rumble. So I am definitely glad I'm not going to that.
Oh, crap, is it? That's fun. Anyway, yes, I decided, Sean, to do the right thing.
Ugh.
Yeah, and I purchased my tickets to meet Spike Lee at the Pinstripe something or other. I forget what it's even called. But it's at the American Dream Mall in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So I'm doing the pro op. I'm splitting it with Lanza. Hopefully, if Lanza's not able to come, I'm going to go and scream at him like Class 316. If you know, you know.
I don't think anyone witnessed that. That was at Oaks when he was screaming at us about that.
Yeah, one day we'll get into that story. After the Hogan private signing and after the Bunkhouse Stampede, we will cover Class 316 screaming at me. Anyway, so I'm doing Spike Lee photo op, and I got a couple things I need signed, and by need I mean not really need, but I have my Black Klansman print that John David hit over the summer. I'm going to get him on that. And then I bought a laser disc of Do the Right Thing because I get a laser disc. I love a signed laser disc.
I love a signed laser disc. One of my favorite items in my personal collection is a cast signed laser disc from Terminator 2 that I bought. I bought with just Arnold on it from a reputable New York City seller. And then got everyone else on there except Robert Patrick yet because I got it after I met him.
What? And then you get Robert. One day you'll get Robert Patrick, and then a few months later you'll sell it.
Nah, that's one of those things. Anyway, I'll sell anything. But
listen, when Arnold dies, when Arnold drops dead, and you
I have the books,
and you could get like $3,000 for that. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it.
And then we also have, after the Spike Lee thing, it should be a good time for you. I just have no interest in doing that. We have the Bill Murray meet and greet on the 15th. That's going to be a lot of fun, I hope. So if you're shopping for autographs, again, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. If you want to check out the stuff that I'm selling of my personal collection, it's ny-collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. And so we're just going to run through the signings we have coming up because it actually is quite a list now.
It is. We're really moving. We have at next weekend at Damaged Goods, I will be pulling pre-orders on Friday. This Friday, which would be the 24th, I believe. I will be pulling pre-orders. So Zeta Steele, Jackson Drake, Marcus Mathers from the ID list, Charles Mason, Brittany Brooks, Emily J from the non-ID but soon to be on TV list. We have prints available. We have prices that you're not going to see again. This is, again, the crowdfunding, take care of our day one supporters. This is, we are not, we're not here to be charitable. So after this, the price is going to change and fluctuate based on their standing in the world. So this is your last chance to get a great price. Those will all be, pre-orders will close on the 24th. So get those orders in. And we also have, outside of that event, we will also be with, actually, wait, I forgot Casey Navarro from TNA, who is sure to be in NXT now on several occasions. He is also next weekend, so get those orders in for him. And then we have ID talent, Jack Cartwheel, Sam Holloway, and Brad Baylor. They will be due. Brad Baylor's orders will close on, I'm trying to find
Valentine's Day, right? Yeah, Valentine's Day.
Yeah, just about. And then we have Sam Holloway is in March. Jack Hartwheel's Valentine's Day is when the orders
Baylor's the week before, right?
Yeah, Baylor's the week before. These guys are completely, I'm not going to say it again. They're awesome. You definitely want, we had a lot of pre-orders this week. These people are listening and understand and, have a great eye for talent, I guess, like we do. And just added this week, we have private signings courtesy of our friends at Big Event New York. We have Mercedes Monet, a.k.a. Sasha Banks. And from what I'm told, she will sign AEW stuff as Mercedes, WWE stuff as Sasha. But as always, it's just when you start guaranteeing stuff like that in such a fickle game, it's just a recipe for headaches and disaster. So we will do the best we can. We think it's going to be a problem, but I mean, if somehow she's pissed off and is only going to sign Mercedes on stuff since that's her real name, I'm not going to fight her. It wouldn't go good for me if I fought her. So, and then we have Lola. We have Lola Vice, NXT. That's rare. I mean, she's actually an active NXT talent who will be on the main roster very soon, if NXT isn't already kind of main roster. We have the Punjabi Playboy, Great Khali. I don't know if he's doing Kiss Prince. Actually, his Kiss Prince would actually be pretty valid. Yeah. I don't think he will be, though. We have Great Khali, and we have the primetime players, Darren Young and Titus O'Neil, and we will also be adding Lita, Amy Dumas, to our website in the next day or two.
Very cool. So again, if you like all this, please give us a follow. Please leave us engagement on YouTube. Leave us a review or a comment on Apple Podcast, and you can also leave us a rating on Spotify. So I think next time we speak to everyone will be after PWJ. We'll have a bunch of signings on there. We'll have lots to talk about.
Oh yeah, ton of stuff.
All right, awesome. So for markedout.com, Marked Out Collectibles, and Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we will see you next week.